Welcome to A Drink of Wisdom with Nathan Drinkard. I'm Jay Wise. Thanks for spending some of your time with us. We're on Anchor, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and everywhere in between. If you're looking for us in the video format, you can find us at the A Drink of Wisdom YouTube channel. Drink, great to be back with you as the NBA first round of playoffs rolls on.
Yeah, man. I wish I was in better spirits. I'm not gonna lie to you, but we here. We in the lab. Listen, talking about the first round of the playoffs. I think some of these series are going a little longer than they need to be. Yeah, I'm talking to you, 76ers. Yeah, I'm talking to you, Golden State. We need to get that done. With that said, the first round, seems like we're gonna get a couple of game sixes, maybe a game seven. So I can't wait to get into that. But yeah, man, another day, another dollar, giving the streets what they need. We see what they don't, absolutely say what they want. Set your dinner plates because it's time to eat. And last but not least, let's talk some sports, baby. Jay, what we got today?
We got episode 56. We're going to continue our coverage of the NBA playoffs and talk about two massively disappointing NBA teams. And we'll have our final NFL draft preview segment, but we start in the Eastern Conference as we did on Friday's show. Was it Friday? It was Friday.
Mm-hmm.
Well, let's go down the line really quickly here. The 1 seed Heat, after 4 games, they're up 3-1, beat the Hawks in game 4, 110-86. Jimmy Butler, 36 points. The only sweep, which is somewhat odd, is the Boston Celtics taking care of the Brooklyn Nets, despite 39 points from Kevin Durant last night, and no doubt his best performance of the series. The Bucks, that Chris Middleton injury didn't hamper them much at all as they whipped the Bulls in both games in Chicago. Grayson Allen in game 3 and 4 had 22 and 27 points respectively. And yeah, we thought the Philadelphia 76ers had this thing wrapped up with a bow on it. And instead we're going to have a game 6 on Thursday night as the Raptors have won game 4 and 5 by 8 and 15 points. Siakam 34 in game 4 and 23 in game 5. Take it away, Drink.
All right, so what I'm not going to do is I'm not going to go too crazy because it seemed like everything I said on Friday showed us totally opposite happened. Totally opposite. But with that said, I do want to give a shout out to the Boston Celtics for being like the only team in the first round to go handle their business. I get it. Game 1, they could have lost. They could have lost game 4 as well, but they didn't. And they came in there, took care of probably 2 of the most talented players that ever played this game. And listen, I told you this before the show. I was a little down on the Celtics defense, even though the numbers bared out that they was a good elite defense, but I wasn't, really sold on the competition that they had played during that time where I was like, okay, they may or may not be elite. Now, after seeing what they did in a 7-game series, well, let's say a 4-game series, I should say, against the Brooklyn Nets, against, 2 of the most, like I said, dynamic superstars we got in the NBA, I got to get them flowers, man. That was impressive. I thought what the Boston Celtics did was very, very impressive. Clearly the most impressive team in the first round. Outside of that, listen, me and you always had this debate. You're a Luka guy. I'm a Trae Young guy. But let me tell you something, Trae Young. I can't be out here advocating for you when you're out here doing this mess right here. 9 points and a smoke check in game 4, they're just not going to cut it. And I'm going to tell you why. Because they always, I like you as a player, but they gas you up every time you do something. Oh, Trae Young, he hit the shot. Listen, I'm going to need you to be a little more consistent there, buddy. Your consistency is killing me. I want to see you do great things, but you need to do better. With that said, right, I'm hoping that because Miami should be up 3-1. Yeah. So let me see. Yep. 1, 2, 3. Okay. Yeah. So I'm hoping that they play tonight. So I'm hoping that's the end of that, in my opinion. With the Bucks and Bulls, look, here's the deal. This result is the exact result that we said. If you go all the way back to the first time we talked about a pretender contender series, right? We always said that the Bulls was a pretender for the obvious reasons. We can't trust a big three. Thus far, when you look at what then happened thus far, I think we've been correct. Even with the Chris Middleton injury, we still been correct on that. DeRozan had 4-1 in game 2. That's the only game they won. That was the only game they was like, if you ask me, pretty winnable. I mean, game 1 looks winnable, but you have to actually watch the game. But DeRozan, this is what DeRozan do. He up and down. He, like I said, he shows up sometimes in the series, then he disappears. Then we talked about Vucevic. Where you at, Vucevic? Oh, it's a little different level when you playing on a team with some expectations. You got used to going to the playoffs with Orlando. No one gave a rip. Now you in Chicago, people give a rip. So it's a little different. And then, Zach LaVine, hey, he playing like a first-year playoff guy. It is what it is. But the Bucks defending champs, even without Chris Middleton, this is what this is definitely what you seen coming, because I said 6, you said 5. They win tomorrow night. It's over with. But I think that the domination of that series is on par with what we thought was going to happen. Chicago just going to have to go to the drawing board, see what they do in the offseason, and they might come back and be a little different next year. But listen, they just ain't got enough scoring, to be honest with you. And then the 76ers and Raptors, like I said earlier, man, I really thought the 76ers was going to pack this up and get it done. I guess Embiid hurting his thumb really, really set them back a lot further than I thought. But being the fact that he was playing, I said, okay, he should be all right to get it done. But it did not. So, like you said earlier, the Raptors ended up winning. So now that series 3-2. And I know going back to Toronto for game 6, yeah, this is going to get interesting. I don't know, if the 76ers lose game 6, you go into game 7 and you got a Embiid that's not 100%. You got a James Harden that's, I don't even know this guy right here. I don't know, I'm going to start saying Embiid with Tyrese Maxey at this point, because I don't know what in the hell James Harden got going on. But with that, like I said, that series should be over. But shouts out to the Raptors, man. They lose Fred VanVleet, and they keep rolling, right? They keep rolling. So shouts out to them. But yeah, man, that's my quick overview of the Eastern Conference first round.
Yeah, we definitely thought Philadelphia would be moving on. And now it's definitely looking a little bit dicey, especially now having to go back to Toronto for game 6. And if you lose that one, it's just game 7. And don't be the one to be the first team to blow a 3-0 lead. Because you're gonna hear it. You're gonna hear it from us. Embiid, I mean, I understand dealing with a little thumb issue right now, but look, if you're out on the floor at this point of the season, and you're that caliber of player, like, I mean, we're only gonna have so much sympathy for you, like, especially again, a player of that caliber, a player who I believe moving forward, it's going to be between him and Giannis for best player in the world. That's what I believe. That's what I've been saying. And look, in games 4 and 5, I'm looking at 21-8. I'm looking at 20-11. That's simply not good enough. Now, of course, he's not alone, because we have James Harden over here, who has not been very impressive, to say the least. This is a guy who in this series is shooting under 40% from the floor in 4 to 5 games. So, I mean, he's averaging 18 points and 9 assists. I mean, Drake, those are nice numbers, but that's not the James Harden we're interested in, And so you have that going on. I mean, bottom line, Philadelphia cannot blow this series. If they do, it is most certainly legacy damaging for James Harden, and I think it's legacy damaging for Doc Rivers as well. It'll hurt Embiid as well. It'll also hurt Embiid. But think about it, Embiid still has, I think he's got a lot of years ahead of him. He's a guy who's gonna win, I think, multiple MVPs in this league. So you have that. But I do agree. Toronto deserves a lot of credit. Nick Nurse deserves a lot of credit. I mean, what you can say whatever you want about Toronto. The one thing that they're not quitters. So you got to give that to them. Siakam, I think Siakam deserves credit. He's clearly the guy. Even when Kawhi was on that team, you look at Siakam, and he was even though you had Kyle Lowry, but you knew Siakam was like the next thing for Toronto. And in Game 4, carried them to 34, 8-5, and a really nice line in Game 5 as well. So, Heat Hawks, yeah, man. Look, I said it. I said it on the last show. Like, look, man, you can't be the next coming to Steph Curry and stink up the joint. You can't go 1 for 12 in a playoff game. You can't go 3 for 11 in a playoff game either. So that's two, and you'll notice there's been 2 close games in this series. In those 2 games, you had Miami win 1. That was by 10, so relatively close. And then Trae Young hit a game-winning floater or whatever in Game 3. So you're 1-1 in the close games where Trae Young played. I don't think he played great, but he played okay. 25 points, 24 points. But you had a 1 for 12 in Game 1. You had a 3 for 11 in Game 4. So you had 2 games in this series where you were awful from the floor and you scored a combined 17 points. In this series, Trae Young is averaging 16 points, 6 assists, and 6 turnovers. Drake, that's awful from a perspective that this is a guy who, has MVP type talent. That's what you say. And you see a guy who last year led a team to the Eastern Conference Finals. And the thing about it is when you achieve something like that, we don't expect these gigantic steps backwards. And to go from the Eastern Conference Finals to a first round gentleman's sweep is a major step backward. And I understand, I don't think the supporting cast has quite been what it's supposed to be. We got John Collins, seemed like he a little in and out right now. I don't know what they're doing with Bogdanovich, got him coming off the bench. DeAndre Hunter been dealing with injuries. He's, back in there trying to do something. Capella, he's been a little in and out. So I understand they got some things going on. But when you're the best player, when you're that type of caliber player, we're not giving you the excuses. Just like we're not giving Joel Embiid don't get the excuses. Guys like Giannis, Luka don't, all these guys, and I could go on down the line, but you're not getting the excuses. Now, on the other hand, Jimmy Butler, it's just amazing what this guy can do. This guy can impact the game, by playing the all-around game that he does and just kind of stat sheet stuffing. But he's had 2 games. He's had a 45-point game and a 36-point game. So this guy just reminds you, from time to time, how great he can be. And I think, especially with some of the lineups Miami seems to trot out there, when they have when you got Vincent and you got Strauss, you got some of these guys who is like, I couldn't even tell you who these guys are. If I saw them on the street, I wouldn't recognize them. And you got Bam and you got Tucker. They're starting 5 right now for the most part. And you throw Lowry in there when he's healthy. Very defensive-minded lineup, So it's almost like, man, maybe Jimmy Butler does have to score more. It seems like Eric Spoelstra, what he's opted is to, have some of more of his firepower come off the bench. And guys like Duncan Robinson and Tyler Hero. So interesting what they're doing right now. But I'm not that surprised that Miami's having this amount of success. And yeah, Atlanta just big step back overall, not only for Trae Young, but for the whole team. Bucks Bulls, I got to say, I know I made the comment on Twitter, I believe it was. The Bucks out here, they a little rude. They a little rude. I like what they did though. They came out here and said, you know what? We're gonna play around for a little bit. We're gonna make Chicago think they in this thing. Oh, you won Game 2? That was nice. Oh, Middleton, you got a little hand. Yes, it's fine. Go ahead and sit down, get some ice, do what you need to do. We're gonna come to Chicago. Y'all gonna think y'all ready for something, and we're about to blitz y'all. That was championship level ball that they played in both those games, on both sides, offensively and defensively. And I talked about Game 1. I think they played half a game, and then the second half they kind of played around. And in Game 2 they didn't play up to their potential. They beat them by 30 in Game 3, hold them to 81 points, and they beat them by 24. Just this is the first. It feel like about Chicago. We've been talking about pretty much all year. Even when they started off, they was a in the top spot in the East for a little bit. And even though they was up in the top 3 for quite a while, and it just did not feel real because of the guys we were looking at. And that's no disrespect to particularly DeRozan, who has had an outstanding season. And it's remarkable that he seems to continue to get better, even though I think he's in his early 30s now, but he keeps getting better and better. But yeah, like Vucevic, no, I'm sorry, I'm not believing in him. Levine, not yet. I mean, just and please, these people, oh well, Lonzo Ball out. Stop. Please stop. You know, that guy's not making that big of a difference. And you especially don't get to cry about that now because Chris Middleton's down. But again, look, Giannis, he's that dude. Drew Holiday did elevate his game, particularly offensively in game 3, hitting 5 3-pointers. And look, I don't think I've ever said one complimentary thing about Grayson Allen, but damn it, he's been balling. I got to give it to him. He's been playing out of his mind. 11 for 14 from 3-point range the past 2 games. And I got to say, you know, Grayson Allen was involved with that thing with Caruso earlier this season. Bobby Portis is a guy who started his career in Chicago, and I think he punched Nikola Mirotic out the league. I really got to think it's got to feel good for those 2 guys to come into Chicago and ball the way they did. Bobby Portis too. Bobby Portis in those 2 games, 32 points and 26 rebounds. You know, they just, you know, we questioned Milwaukee's toughness a few years ago. Last year, they kind of got with it with Bobby Portis and with PJ Tucker. And I think that they're a team that just mentally, they've arrived. You know, it just feels like, can they be up and down a little bit in a series? Yes. But I think it's going to be hard for them to get, mentally dominated by a Miami Heat team or the Raptors when Kawhi was there. I don't think that's going to happen right now. I think, especially with Giannis leading them, and then Holiday, and even a lot of role players, they get it. They are a much tougher team than they were several years ago. And finally, we get to the sweep. The sweep, just didn't see it coming. But look, you got to give Boston all the credit in the world. Remarkable defensive series that they did, considering the 2 offensive talents that they were contending with. KD finally got it going in game 4, but he struggled mightily in the first 3 games. Boston's length with guys like Tatum, Jaylen Brown. Obviously, you're working against the defensive player of the year, Marcus Smart, and they just and on down the line. I mean, you look at I would say probably Derek White's the one guy I haven't been overly impressed with on defense. But besides Derek White, I mean, everybody they put in the game. A guy I'm thinking about right now is Grant Williams. I think Grant Williams did improve a lot since he came into the league. And he's even a guy who, when he's checking Kevin Durant, Durant's even struggling against him. The Celtics have a lot of unique players on defense. You got Tatum's length. You got Jaylen Brown. You got Marcus Smart. Robert Williams with what he can do. Grant Williams is really wide. He's got an odd NBA body, but like he still moves. He moves well enough, and that was impressive. And as much as we been critical of Boston, especially me, I've been critical of what they've been doing since the trade deadline last year. But they brought back Al Horford. They brought back Tice, Derek White. You got Robert Williams coming into his own. Udoka has shown that he's a heck of a coach, and that's got to be something for him too. I mean, he was an assistant on this Nets team, so that's got to mean something. And of course, I don't want to get into too much of the Nets right now because I think we got a little bit something for them later. So we'll get to that eventually. Stay with us.